You are our leader. You have the power to fix some of our nation's biggest issues. You have the power to end wars and create tranquility. You represent each and every single one of us.
Rich and poor, we aren't demanding perfection. We demand to be seen, to be heard, to be loved and protected. At the end of the day, after all the bloodshed and injustices and suffering, all we want is empathy.
We need warmth in this dark and cold world, so we will leave you with our stories, our lives and pain, with our struggles and achievements, so that one day we get to heal all this bleeding and infected wounds. When it's our time to inherit the world, we will carry nothing but scars and empathy in our hearts.
We
are
GMS,
a global media studies magnet where students are given the opportunity to express themselves and break the barrier of language, which allows us to reach people all across the world.
This entire crisis has been one of the toughest challenges many people from America have faced, myself included. At the start of this pandemic, I was a hopeful person, thinking like, if the government handles this correctly, this could go away in the blink of an eye. But look at us now, 1 year into the pandemic, with spikes occurring in everything COVID related. And now I realize I couldn't have been more wrong. And businesses have been closing down left and right. This kind of saddens me because my family's bonding time came from these places. One of which was the Winnetka Pacific Theater. My family loved watching movies on the big screen, and it really brought us together, but, now it's kind of closed. Another place was Salsa Beer, which was this Mexican restaurant, and sure, they have pickup. You could just go there, get some food, and bring it back home and eat it there, but it just doesn't bring the family together as it did when we were there in person.
Hopefully everything can get back to normal and we can add it normal, but even then for some there won't be a normal because of the scars that this virus has left on us. Even if we didn't get infected, it still left us hurt on the inside.
My family had a very interesting experience with COVID. My grandpa got sick in Mexico, which means my parents had to go over and pick him up because he needed to go to a hospital. So once they picked him up and sent him to a hospital, they said that he did have COVID. So that meant my parents and my grandma were exposed, which means me and my brother, who stayed home, had an hour to pack everything into his car and leave because my parents and my grandma were going to quarantine here. Eventually, during that month, my dad and my grandma both had to get hospitalized. They both got out of the hospital a couple weeks later, but while staying at my aunt's house, my grandfather passed away. It was really hard because we couldn't see any of our family members, and we also couldn't see my grandfather because COVID. So it was really hard to say goodbye and not be there with him, and it was just really hard for my grandma because she couldn't see her husband anymore.
This pandemic has caused me to lose one of my most precious family members, my grandpa. He was really important to our family. He would always bring everyone together, host parties. He did everything, and COVID-19 just took him away. And we couldn't even visit him in the hospital because of these restrictions.
Me and my family have been more cautious when it came to visiting each other because we were not playing around when we knew a certain virus was running around infecting people. My parents and I have been living through quarantine as if nothing has ever changed, except the fact that school was now online and that both of my parents go to work.
I miss having a bad day at school and getting to hang out with my friends during lunch. I miss going out with my cousins, whether it be to the mall, the beach, or their house. I miss coming home after school. That was the best feeling in my opinion. Getting to feel that sense of relief and not having to worry about school anymore for a little while. I miss having somewhere to escape. My room used to be a place where I could go to relax and let loose. Now I wish that I could escape from my room. I want to go out and have a taste of freedom again.
When I have visited downtown LA, I have realized the X number of people I have seen out on the streets. This allowed me to dig deeper on the issue of homelessness. I have learned that the major causes of homelessness are lack of affordable housing, unemployment, poverty, mental illness, and lack of needed services, according to the National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty.
Really, I'm thankful that my family still has the money to be able to bring food home because many people have been getting into poverty as a result of COVID. I've seen many homeless people throughout this entire pandemic carrying cardboard signs and hats with little money inside them. And even on the news, I've seen like countless stories of that just revolved about around homeless people, and most consist of just people making their lives more miserable than it needs to. There's, these anti-homeless chairs already being put in use in like places in America, and it just pains me to see that these people are going through so much more than they already need to be going through.
Racism has been a huge deal, especially in the community of Hispanic and Latinos, and since I'm part of this community, it affects me as well. There's all this hate speech that gets thrown at us like, go back to your country or speak English in America. These words affect the way we feel, especially out in public, and it affects the younger generation of kids who come from immigrated parents. Racism isn't only in the Hispanic and Latino community, there's also the Asians and the Blacks that are affected by this as well.
This pandemic has caused a really big influx in hate crime against Asian Americans due to the fact that COVID started in Wuhan, China. And I think it's horrible.
The people that were camping at that site told us to get out. They were white, and they were getting angry at us, getting to the point where they were making racist comments to my family and relatives. It's like they thought that whites were better than us Asians. I felt hurt that we were being treated like this, when everyone should be equal.
Last year, right before COVID, we went camping for my nephew's birthday, and our tire went out, so we had to go to a nearby gas station right by the beach, and my dad was working on the tire, and he was paying for it in the gas station, and my mom was just out, out, and an ICE officer came up to her and started basically interrogating her and just asking her a bunch of questions, and it was really weird for her. She's like, I was born here, so there's no need for ICE to be there. And then when my dad came out, he kind of backed off, and I was like, oh, okay. But that was just one experience of my parents don't get treated the same because of their race. I guess, growing up mixed has definitely showed me the inequalities that people of color face in today's society.
My dad has told me stories when he was younger that due to him being Hispanic, he would get called names. Some of my friends have also mentioned the same thing. It really angers me that there are even people like this out there. How low do you have to stoop to make fun of something like that?
It's impacted me and my friends and my family as well. We get racially profiled just by going into an expensive store to look and shop. People look at us in disgust as if we're criminals.
The protests from last May and June demonstrate the intolerance that persists in the present day, and the means of which people are ready to fight for their rights and the safety of their fellow Americans. The police forces of the country, which are essential to the preservation of order, can become corrupt with this mindset and need to be dealt with. The forces which exist to protect us can turn and become the forces that bring us down.
Feeling neither happy nor sad, I am the empty sky inhabiting the above. No stars or clouds dwell upon me. Gray emptiness lingers inside. Every step taken steers towards nothing. Infinity leads to insanity, unstable and unpromising, like the future ahead.
The world we're in is dark. The world is broken, it's cold, it has cracks and shattered pieces, but the worst part is there's no empathy. No humanity, no love or warmth. This world was meant to shine, illuminate, and to be warm, yet this place we call our home is in a cold and hopeless state. Violence has been normalized, injustices occur on a daily basis, suffering has become a part of our normal routine. Humanity is at its lowest point and it's near extinction.
3 simple actions can save us all: listening, understanding, empathy. As soon as we start listening to one another, streaks of light start shining through those tiny crevices, which start going through large and rough cracks. Then eventually, it embraces the world entirely. Wars will end, peace will prevail, injustices will come into the light and be corrected.
Bloodshed will come to an end as empathy and understanding enters. This is our home, this is what we demand. For there's always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Amanda Gorman.